You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well. Because I don't got time to figure out which white people are nice, which white people aren't racist, or da-da-da-da-da. I have to go on the actions of the group.
Right.
The group as a whole and the history of that group as a whole tells me that they are a danger to me and they are not to be trusted.
Right.
And if you can understand that as a black man and your stance towards white people, then you should absolutely be able to understand women's stance towards you. It's not a war on you waged by women. Actually, the war get a little thicker when we start talking about it from the perspective of a woman and the greater society of racism and white supremacy being waged against black people, and then the patriarchal society being waged against women. So they have to deal with two elements. One of those elements we don't have to think about. And honestly, we're perpetuated. And it's perpetuated against us young to look at women as objects.
Right.
You know, to look at women only through the lens of a sexual desire and not as the human being that they are. And when you understand how to deal with women on a human level, you understand how much women will enrich your life.
Amen.
All right. So there's this conversation happening online right now. And from what I've gathered so far from the different think pieces, there's a question of who should take accountability for what. So in this particular conversation, this comes down to a small group of black men in particular who treat black women terribly. They're not able to take rejection, so they may lash out, curse them out. Let's say he asked for her number, or they're just inappropriate and make those women feel uncomfortable and unsafe. Now, with that being said, these people exist in every group and community, right? I just want to get that out of the way. But the question again is, who should take accountability? And based on him, the host of the podcast Grits and Eggs podcast, he says you should take that accountability. And when I say you, I'm obviously talking about the type of man who does not react in that way, who's able to control his emotions, who doesn't catcall women, who's able to look at a woman and say, oh, okay, cool, I shot my shot. She said no, let me keep it pushing. There are men out here who cannot do that. They are easily controlled, easily triggered. It is a weakness if you allow a woman to take you off center. But in this situation, they're saying, hey, you are accountable for these men. And then he sort of ties it into saying the same way that white people as a whole are responsible for the, I'm assuming, system of racism, or the people who are racist, they are responsible and they are the ones who should fix that. I have my own opinions. Of course, I'm curious to know what you guys think. We're going to listen to a few other people's different opinions here. Let's keep listening.
Amen.
You want to turn it up a notch?
Yeah.
Get you a good woman get you a good black woman in your corner.
Amen.
Hey man, you want to see your life turn up?
Hey.
And see, this is the thing though. It's a privilege, bro. It's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? We often disregard the power of our black women, the spiritual essence that they're gonna bring to things, the knowing, the seeing. You know what I'm saying? Also, too, imagine it. They have to be hyper vigilant because they have to be constantly scanning the room, making sure that they're in a safe situation.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? When we think about these kids who were clearly in Louisiana having the time of their life because they graduated, and we think about white people's reaction to Black joy.
Oh yeah, that's
it's not about civility. It's not about decorum. They don't like to see us happy.
That's what it is.
Now, how often are women just having a good time, and here come a nigga trying to ruin their fun?
Yeah.
And so now I guess the reaction he's probably trying to call for is, hey, man, black man, you should check that. You know, if you see a man who's acting out, because there are people out here who act out. This is a life here we're talking about overall. I have some thoughts. Of course, I'm curious to know yours. Guys, open conversation. I think this is really interesting. Comment down below. I think this is really interesting.
Let's just be honest. You can call it pandering. But if I was up here caping for white women, you wouldn't even mention that word. If I was up here caping for Hispanic women, you wouldn't even call it pandering. Only when we take pride and show love to black women do you call it pandering. Get your motherfucking mind right. Use your cabeça.
All right. So here's what I think. I'm going to try to make it as short as possible because I'm more curious to read you guys' comments here. I'm sorry, but you can't convince me that the majority of men that women interact with on a day-to-day basis are just negative to them. You just are not going to convince me that. I mean, we see right now an epidemic of women literally asking for men to interact with them more. And this is not just in a particular race or group of people. This is across the board. I've released multiple videos of women saying, I don't like the stage we're in where men are too afraid to come say hi. I don't like this stage we're in where people don't interact with each other. Particularly, we see a lot of chicks who are asking for more interactions, asking for more men to come up, ask for their number, talk to them. I don't believe that. Now, do I believe that there are men who are disrespectful, who don't come from a good upbringing because that's how that turns out? Yes. Now, do I think that life changes by other people holding other people accountable and that's what causes things to change? For example, he used white people saying, when white people decide to stop being racist, and we're talking about the white people who are racist, right? Because people will say every white person is racist. I don't believe that. But they can say when white people all of a sudden stop being racist and they're held accountable by their white counterparts, then things will change. I don't believe that either. People just don't change. People just don't change. Power is taken. People just don't decide, I have enough. I'm going to give you what I have. No. Power is taken. Respect is earned, usually through force or competition. And let me make this more plain. Everything starts in the home. And as long as the single mother rate, broken households with no fathers continues, that cycle will continue. But eventually, they are dying off, killing their lineage off. They sort themselves out. You, as an individual at this point, are not responsible for people who don't care what you have to say, who don't care what you think. Your first goal, the most effective thing you can do, is not become that which you do not value or uphold in your own life. Become a polar opposite. Your life should reflect that. But that's not what I see a lot of times, right? A lot of the leaders who people look up to and say, hey, it's your responsibility to go help these black homes. You have Dr. Umar here who does the same thing. What? 2 baby mamas, 2 children out of wedlock, and that's who's bringing the community back together? I don't know. To me, there's something clearly wrong with that approach. Save yourself.
You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not. Yeah. And you are accountable for that as well.
Not even a little bit. No, this nigga is a visionary. He's great. Every time I get one of his clips pop up, love him. He missed hard on this one. Because where does that stop? If I took a poll from every man, probably him included, for how many women hit on them, I'm talking about even boy, stop. See, we don't see that as like abuse. But never in my life have I been mad at a woman that was like, girl, stop playing with me. I've never done that. Because it's just, you just don't hit on women. And if we took another poll about how many men have been hit by women while the woman was mad, see, being hit out of anger is different. I don't care if it hurt or not. Watching someone's face snarl up and they start swinging on you, even if it doesn't hurt, how many men have been through that? Why am I bringing that up? Because I don't think women who don't hit men should be held accountable just as much as the women who do.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You understand what I'm saying? Never in my, first of all, I've never lived a life where like I'm just posted up and I'm like, hey, shawty in the pink shorts, come here. I've never done no shit like that in my life. I know a lot of guys do. I simply have not. I don't. And then when she like, no, I don't like you. Well, you bitch anyway, you ugly, woo-de-woo. That sorry ass nigga ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
He got this much, he ain't got nothing to do with me. And I will never be held accountable for a like that. That's like me being accountable for a deadbeat dad. All my kids live in my mama's house. I'm married to their mama. I provide, I cook, I clean, I bathe them at night and shit. I brush their teeth because they won't let their mama do it. I'm the disciplinary up in this bitch. I'm not being held accountable for nothing a trash ass nigga. What? Oh, way.
You know, the problem with this conversation is one simple quote, which is responsibility without authority is slavery. You're asking men to be responsible, but you are probably the same people who don't like when men say, hey, here's how not to raise up these men who act difficult. Here's how not to end up in these situations where you're scantily dressed out at night and nobody can help you and you're in a dangerous place and your man says, hey, I don't think you should go there. I don't want you at that place. I don't want you out that late. Oh, he's controlling. But at the same time, oh, you should check that guy who's inebriated by alcohol, or maybe he's just crazy. The same group, the same mindset of individuals who contribute to broken homes and don't see anything wrong with it are the same ones who expect you to step in and help them out and have that responsibility. But they don't want to give you any authority to decide how their life should play out. You're asking that man to be a slave. He's working for free. He doesn't decide his hours, but you get to do whatever you want. That's crazy.
No way. And so when we get on social media and you hear a woman have a take like these men are aggressive and and a nigga go, not me. I don't know who she fucking talking to. That's because she at the Jacksonville Fair walking past a light post with 18 niggas posted up. Why are you at the Jacksonville Fair downtown? I'm not saying you should have to be subjected to the shit. I'm just saying that's why I don't go. Too many niggas posted up for no reason. They're not even enjoying the festivities. You know what I'm saying there's a way to stay away from this shit, and it's to stop going. But y'all love events, bro, where niggas like that exist.
Right.
That ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
I promise you it don't.
I have a funny story about this, and I know this probably is going to trigger some people, but I remember my wife, right? When we first started dating, we got into this discussion and she was telling me about how she went to the Dollar Tree to pick up some particular thing that she always got from there. There's this thing she always got from the Dollar Tree. She was so animated talking about this interaction she had with one of the employees that worked there, you know, nasty attitude and just being unnecessarily unreasonable. And she goes on and on about how she was so polite, but for some reason, the person behind the counter who was ringing her up just had a terrible attitude. I'm just there listening. I'm like, yeah. But in the beginning, I already had a question, but I just didn't bring it up, right? I'm listening. I'm making sure, okay. I'm taking everything in because, you know, you got to listen. You got to listen in a marriage. But I still have that question when she's done talking. I say, well, babe, have you ever just thought of not shopping at the Dollar Tree? And that changed her life. She's never been back since. And there are just some places. And so that's not the most ideal example. Don't get caught up in that. But there are a lot of people who that's an easy fix, right? On top of that, it's how you dress as a woman that does play into a role. It shouldn't matter how I dress. Sure. In a perfect world, nothing should matter. We should all be loving towards each other. It will never happen, not on this planet. Secondly, the events you attend and how you carry yourself definitely does matter. Final video here I want to check out on the topic. This is a woman's take on it.
You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well.
So I learned something in a project management course, not really a course, but seminar I took not too long ago, is that when you work on projects for improvement, you work on something called an 80-20 rule. And you work on your process improvement based on the 80% of the people you deal with and not the 20% of the outliers, right? So if I want to improve something, I'm looking at the majority of what I deal with and not the outliers. And what he's saying, I hear what he's saying to an extent. I think that this, I'm going to call it the problem black man, the aggressive black man, the black man that don't know how to deal with rejection and things like that. I don't think that is the overall majority of Black men.
No,
I
but they
just
definitely
don't.
exist.
Wholeheartedly, hands down. And just like we talked about in that that process improvement meeting, at some point we will have to address the 20% that we have to deal with, because it is a problem, right? We have to come up with a process improvement for that 20%, but we cannot dump what the 20% does off on the 80%. If 80% of the men that you come into contact with are horrible human beings, you got to start asking yourself, what is the environment that I'm in? You got to start looking at your environment, because I'm here to tell you 80% of the men that I come into contact with are not horrible human beings. They just aren't.
There she goes. There she goes.
Unless they're this way behind closed doors.
Very
and
possible. But that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about being out in public, out in open spaces, and being cackled and harassed and taunted and mistreated by Black men. I'm out all the time. I don't run into this. I don't see this. I smile at a Black man. He smiles back. I say, good morning. How's your day going? He say, good morning, beautiful. It's wonderful. They smile. You want to know why? I had one tell me, you know what? You're the first Black woman I've seen all week that spoke with me with a smile. We are a part of the problem. Let's just be clear. We want to dump it all off on Black men, but we also have to ask ourselves, are we causing a part of this? Y'all gonna be real mad in these comments.
Clean it up now.
Are we causing part of this because we're treating everyone the same? Because a Black man comes to you and says, hey, how you doing? And you immediately have an attitude. You immediately think that he's trying to talk to you. You immediately think that he wants something from you, when he could very well just be saying, good morning. It's because
I know you guys are tired of hearing my story. I've had the same exact experience. I know you guys are tired of hearing. Just know I had the same exact experience. If you haven't heard the story before, of me walking into a grocery store, asking where the bathroom was at, and the immediate response was like, I have a boyfriend. I'm just like, yo, I'm what are you talking about?
It's becoming almost a tit for tat. Women, Black women, are attacking men before they have a chance to say something nice, and Black men are on the defensive and saying ugly things to Black women because y'all all the same. You gonna come at me with an attitude, so I might as well come at you reckless. We gotta stop. It's okay just to say hi. It's okay to speak and not want anything further. It's okay for somebody to buy you a cup of coffee just because you were standing in line at Starbucks and they happen to be behind you, without expecting something more. We got to stop just dropping this blanket on everybody and thinking everything is something bad. And we got to stop because I have a bad attitude because my day is going bad. If you, I don't want to talk to you. Why are we pushing our bad energy, our negative feelings, our hostility off on other people? They didn't do anything to you. You mad at the wrong person.
Oh yeah, they didn't like her. They didn't like her at all.
Is we on both sides, men are creating women who are mad, angry, and bitter, and women are creating men that are mad, angry, and bitter. And then we're looking across the line at each other, mad, angry, and bitter with each other. And it's unfair and it's detrimental. And we are pushing this off on our kids, on the generations coming after us.
Right. Because they're seeing all this.
We got to make it better.
Yeah.
We've got to stop just pushing this off. I treat everyone the same. If you see me walking down the hallway, I got that rest in peace face. That it exists. I'm sorry. I'm not a mean person though. If you speak to me, I'm gonna speak back. If you walk by, you look sad, I'm probably gonna say, hey, good morning. How you doing? I was driving down the street the other day on my way to work, minding my business, resting face, and the construction worker waved at me. And I rolled down the window and smiled. And he said, well, dog, I thought you was having a bad morning. No, sir, I wasn't. I was just contemplating. I didn't want to go to this job this morning, but I'm fine. Good morning. How are you? And we had a nice, calm conversation as I waited for the flag man to wave me on by. There's a misconception. There's miscommunication that's happening. You feel like you looking at somebody and they look mad. And as a man, the first thing they want to say is, you too pretty for that mad face. Smile.
And it's taking it to insult.
Smile. Or just say, you know what? today's not a great day. You don't have to go off and get mad and get angry and start yelling and cutting up. They really are just trying to brighten your day sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will not sit here and pretend that some of them are not.
Right.
That some of them really are out to make your life and your day even worse. They exist.
This is true.
They do. But sometimes what's happening is each party is feeding off of the other. Neither one of y'all intended to start out in a quarrel, in a argument. That wasn't the initial intent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's check out a few of these comments. Top comment here says, most men don't even engage with women. Most men don't even exist to most women. Those men don't even know how or wouldn't even try to have a conversation with women outside of providing a service. That's why this conversation isn't realistic to me. I mean, that's the point I was trying to make earlier. Men just don't approach women anymore. Somebody else here says, this was a hard miss, but I love this for you. There you go. Somebody else who says, it's so problematic to say, just smile. There you go. That's what you're dealing with. And so what happens? They continue being angry, and men continue also just either avoiding them, but some of them will kind of try to mirror the same type of energy like she was talking about there, that they're being shown. All right. A bunch of people here talking about you're missing the point, blah, 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 blah. Of course, curious to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. Again, the question I would ask is, where do these men come from? Who raised them? And what is the belief about family structure and values of the community and family that they come from overall? And if it's completely opposed to what you believe, that's like trying to convince somebody to join a marriage with you who doesn't define marriage as the same thing. It's a lose battle, right? Save yourself. Moving on.